Hello, everyone. I'm sorry for that technical problems. Uh, okay, let me introduce myself. Sorry. Grigory Rodionov. I'm the CEO and the founder of Tengo Interactive. We are based in Yekaterinburg, Russia, and we're doing a lot of interactive stuff based on real-time rendering engines. Also, we use WebVR, which was mentioned before. A lot of things for exhibitions, for showrooms, also game projects. And I want to show you one video which is slightly off topic in terms of today's talk, but the thing is, it will be the first time when someone outside our studio will see the current state of this project. So this is really important moment. So we're doing a game, the tower, which is about it's action with a quest with some storytelling. In it is everything in VR and for HTC Vive platform. Okay, I need to switch. This is PC. Okay, it seems like yeah. Okay, so okay. So this is the video. This is a. It's not a trailer. A trailer. It's like a pieces of screen capture from the guy who plays the current version of this game, and it just represents some kind of different product which we do in our studio. It's pretty intense story. There's a lot of things like anti-gravity, anomalies, ball lightings, energy balls, and everything. And we widely use the possibilities of virtual reality to create the feeling of zero gravity, to interact with objects. As you can see, you can fly with it, fire distinguisher, and so that's just one of the examples of content we create. So I think next thing we should switch is the actual theme of today's talk. Let's go to VR training. It was about 2015 when we first sell virtual training product to real client. It was really significant time for us because it helped us to believe that it's a real market. Actually, we were overheated in that moment, and the colleagues in our industry are the same, because many people thought that it's just a crazy market and it's really easy to get money on it. But the reality is was pretty tough, and it took us several years to prove the clients that it's not a game. That you can train professionals with this tool, and it's really cost efficient. So we started from the railway industry, and again I want to show the video because it represents much better what I'm talking about. And it was a project for Russian railways for training electricians who are in charge for repairing different electric boxes near the railways and some signaling equipment. And it was really a successful project. And do we have a sound here? It could be nice. I think it's just off. Yeah. Okay. So we recreated the full atmosphere of the working environment.
Electricians arrived at switch number 7. Permission to start investigation.
Permission granted.
Initiate a phone message. Work on switch number 7. Issue a warning about train movements via loudspeaker comms.
Everything's so serious. Okay, and you can see that the guy in the virtual headset in HTC Vive actually starts to repair the gearbox. And the thing is, we showed this prototype first in a special exhibition devoted to signaling industry. It's like a part of the railway industry.
This is the electrician from switch number 7.
And
operate the points to a straight through normal
and we
position.
tested it on the guys who are actually the age of my father, so it's not a boys. And it was a real proof for us that people looks on this project, on this technology, not like on a game, but on a real tool, because they asked questions about that, you know, guys, there is just a different type of gear used here, so it's an old one, and now we have a new one, so you better update this model and something like that. So we start to feel that they're not thinking about technology itself. They're thinking about the questions of profession, the question of real education. And it's a really important moment. So after that, we've done one more successful project with a different company, Bombardier Transportation Sweden, which is have a division which works with signaling devices over the world. And then there was a lot of presentations for other clients, and I can say that the reactions of the client was pretty different. So one factory we came, they just said, you know, our cost for training, they do the wiring work, so they built some kind of very simple box with wiring inside, and they say that our cost for training people is pretty small. It's pretty cheap just to take a couple of wires, to take a box, and start teaching people to screw, to put the screws in place, to connect the wires, and we actually don't need such an expensive tool for training. And that was true. But there was another successful stories like railways, like oil and gas, and finally we found our bingo. It's the aviation industry, air transportation industry. And again, I will show you the video. So this is the prototype of VR training for ground operations in the airport. And we decided to build it we invested our own money for create this prototype. It's not so cheap actually, because we've spent about 4 months of work of big team for create this prototype. But it's really worth it, because first time we showed, we presented this prototype in IATA headquarters in Geneva. You know, IATA is International Air Transportation Association. So it's some kind of the center of the competence of the whole air transportation industry in the world. And they organized a special event devoted to AR and VR in aviation industry. And we decided to show this prototype first time there. And it was really emotional response from many professionals there, from Qatar Airways, from Heathrow Airport, from IATA itself, and from others, from American Airlines. And again, we felt that that's the bingo, because it's much more much more interesting and much more useful for aviation than other industries. Because the aviation industry, it's a lot of very intense processes, and every equipment, every guy, every man, every plane, every vehicle is busy. It's loaded with more than 100%. So to train people with the real equipment, you want to stop all these processes and put it on a safe place and do a training. It's almost impossible situation. And they striving for new methods of training people, not with books, with some kind of video courses, but with the possibility to let people do everything with your own hands. And that was the beginning of big story. Right now we have the order from the big client in Russia for about 25 different scenarios of ground operations course. And also we have negotiations with the client around the world, in Europe, in Asia, for the same products. Yeah, and what we actually want to do is to create not only custom solutions, but also some kind of tool which can be useful and standard for every ground handling company around the world. So it's a big deal. Okay. I think it's good. Sorry, I just not so good with PC after many years with Mac, so it's pretty slow. Okay. So how to sell VR training? It's really interesting question for us. And was really interesting question for us in that time. And we have discovered that actually to sell VR training, you can use some PDF presentations, video presentations. It just doesn't work. So all you have to do is to create 100% industry relevant prototype and wear the headset on the client. And that's the only way he will believe in that idea. And of course, that means that you should first invest your own money in creating some prototypes, and then maybe you will earn some money from the clients. So it's a risky thing. Yeah. The next thing is the technical quality. When we talk about the games, so honestly speaking, the 90% of the content, some gaming content in Steam, I mean VR content, is pretty awful. So because the guys in independent studios doing games, and they are not so stressful about the quality, because it's some kind of experiments, fun and everything. But when you do some professional stuff, the quality is essential. And you just can't show the prototype which is halfway working, or just you can't explain clients that it will be much better because it's just a test. No, it doesn't work. So you have to do full power prototype with the best quality you can achieve, and that will be what you need. And that time we started to investigate what kind of problems VR have in terms of technical quality. You know all about it. It's motion sickness, image blur, and eye discomfort or some kind of headache. And we started to solve all these three major problems. We started to make the tests, the R&D work, how to solve all the, and finally we solved all of them, all of three major problems of VR. So I can say that we don't have any motion sickness at all in our products. And we use the same headsets like everyone else on the market. So our typical project is HTC Vive Pro or HTC Vive first edition, and there is no motion sickness at all, because we just figure out what's the problem, what's the reason for that, and we solve that. And the same with the image quality. I don't know, it's better to compare on the live examples, but the image sharpness is much, much, much better in our products than overall on the market. So it's really important, because when the image is sharp, your eye is feeling good. It's not trying to focus again and again and again, and there is no headache and other problems related with that. And of course, you have to think about the cost effectiveness, because every client will count money, will decide, do I really need this type of tool on my production? Because it's really the main question before the decision. Even if you will show some really amazing stuff and they will crazy about how cool is that. So just a few words about how we create our products. We use photogrammetry, but not for creating the final models, because the photogrammetry result is really high poly, dirty models, and they can't be used in engines because they will just crash everything. But it's amazing thing for references for 3D model for 3D modelers. Okay. Thanks. So when the 3D modelers have such a great reference, I will show you the video again. It is much easier to understand how this equipment consists of which part, how it connected, which shape, what kind of scale, and the result is made of the resulting model is made from scratch, from primitives, started from primitives, and then added details, textures, and everything. But when you compare it to the photogrammetry model, you can test how it close to reality. And of course, we talk a lot with the professionals on site. So we go to the airport, we talk with the guys on the ramp, with the real workers, and we spend a lot of time there, because naturally we study ourselves with the during the production, and I think soon we will be like really trained aviation experts. But it's really funny. It's really every in our team loves aviation. It's really funny for us. Okay. Next. So I already said that the technical quality is essential, and we have a rule of 90 frames per second in every product, not 89, no, 79, 90, because it's the only standard which is in the industry from the beginning, but no one do the exact quality as it was requested by the industry. But that's the only number which can guarantee no artifacts, no glitching, no motion sickness and other problems. And just a few words about the future of virtual training. I'm 100% sure that it will be growing really fast, and it will be a large market. And there is different reasons for that. The first is technical reasons. I'm sure that in 4 or 5 years, the quality of the equipment, I mean the virtual headsets and other associated equipment, will be so good that you will not see the difference between the real and virtual. I understand it's really hard to believe, but I'm sure it's just a question of maximum 5 years, because we know the reasons why it still looks not real, and it will be solved for sure. Next thing, that the company is like my company. We're doing very important work right now. We are creating the libraries industry-related libraries, which will move everything forward really fast. And now we doing one scenario during month or two with a team of 10 people. Soon we will able to create the same scenario 3 times faster, because we will have every assets and we only need to program the interactions, and it's much faster. And the final thing is that I know there is some kind of work in that direction, that will be some tools for automation of this process. So it will be able to create training scenarios without developers. So it's like drag and drop and some very basic language for scripts. So it's the future of your training development. I think that's all for now. If you have any questions, we also have a booth on the backstage there, so welcome.
Wow. What can we actually try in our new booth?
There are two prototypes. Oh yeah, a tower. There are many different things. So whatever you would like to try.
Peter is up in a couple of minutes, and we're gonna prepare the panel, I guess, right now, right next to Peter.
So, speaking of this B2B market, I have a little bit experience here in Germany, seeing how companies sometimes consider, VR training or in general VR in companies helps, but we need to get a PC, we need to get a Vive, it's kind of expensive, right? And while I assume that maybe developing the training is not as expensive, let's say, as in Germany, in Russia, but still, a company, for example, like the train guys, need to buy a VR station, right, to do the training. So my question would be, how is your experience with, actually explaining the customers that they need this equipment? So it's kind of very expensive and looks kind of very gamey, because you mentioned yourself that, it kind of looked to them in the beginning like a game, and then you come up with a gaming laptop that needs to be really juicy and a gaming headset. How do you convince them to get actually the equipment?
So it depends on the client. So if you come to the client and during negotiations, they will ask you how much does equipment cost, and you say, okay, it's about $500 for one working VR for one set. And if they mention that it's pretty expensive, then you should say, okay, thank you, bye. Because the content cost 10 and even more times more. So what we talk more about with this client, if they say it's expensive. No, it's VR training is for real big businesses, for real big companies. And if we talk about cost effectiveness of VR training, it is always a story about when you have thousands of workers and you need to build entire new system and ecosystem for training them in virtual reality. And for that clients, the cost of this customer headset, which you can buy in every store, it's just not a question. It's just not so serious. That's all.
Hi. My question is, if you have equipment and if we see it on the VR market that you have all the time updates, how do you fix it that your solution at the customer is not updated every time, and the customer is getting mad on this? Of course, this would be my impression, that it's really hard, because now they dated it up and I just want to present it to the CEO, whatever. And yeah, please wait, we need to update it. The update was not working and stuff like this. How do you handle this, that the hardware is all the time present and that it's not every time iterations in the software and stuff like this?
So we use our main instrument is Unity, So the Unity is pretty not so hardware related thing. So you can run Unity programs on any platform. You can build the application for mobile platform or for PC platform. And if you build the application for PC and it works in first evolution of Vive, it will work on the next evolution and the next evolution. It's just a question of does it use all the power of new version of the equipment, or you can add some more calculating things, more beauty to these simulations, since you have more advanced equipment. But it will work. It's 99%, so it's not a problem. If we talk about updates of platform itself, like Windows or SteamVR, of course, it's sometimes it's annoying when you before the presentation it's just 3 minutes to go and your SteamVR starts to upload the update and you, oh my god, it's again. So it's nightmare every time, but it's not so big problem actually. Yes.
Another question comes from here by the stairs. When I look at the training scenarios and training applications across the VR industry, vast majority of companies, if not all, try to reproduce real-life training, as if I would have all the elements that I have in the real life. So my question comes from the opposite perspective. Have you explored methods that are possible only because you do it in virtual reality? Like explore the advantages of virtual reality beyond removing the fact that you need a physical station to train.
I understand the question. I think this approach is slightly off the base goal of the virtual training. Virtual training is a tool which could replace the practical learning in many industries. So it's just a way to make the practical learning cheaper. So we are not going to invent some kind of new professions or new methods of working in the same industries. We're just trying to recreate the same situations, the same working environment, and let people do the same things like in real life. That's why we use such a thing like natural interface. That means that if you can't, if you can use absolutely the same interface of the equipment, use it, because it will be much faster to adopt the workers in the real life from your virtual training. So, is it okay as an answer? Sorry.
So we got
let's talk later in our booth. No problem.
From Karen, right?
Just the last question. I think it's a missed opportunity if you don't take advantage of the VR features. Like if you looked at the heat maps, if you do a training and everybody does something wrong, and you look at a heat map, it's because they look at the wrong place or something. Then you can quickly change something in your environment. And, for example, put the warning in the right place, or you can learn from the tracking of the usage why people make mistakes during the training and make things better in real life, and also you can track their progress in the training, and you can with the tracking. I think.
By the way,
that's not possible in the physical world, or not so easy.
We are actually using a very similar thing to heat maps. In many scenarios, there is a task to visually control some process, for instance. And then we need to be sure that the trainee looks into the right direction, onto the right part of the equipment. And for that we use almost the same technology, which helps us to understand that he's really controlling the situation because he's looking in the right direction. But for other things like warning messages or something like that, they will not see any warning messages in the real life. They will see only an equipment and the other environment, and nobody will help them in the real life. So we'll need to prepare them not to some kind of augmented reality. We will prepare them for real life.
No, I get that. The warning sign was just an example, but if, for example, they always try to press the red button where they should press the blue button. So maybe the position of the buttons should change or something instead of, you can learn from these kind of things.
In every product we have two modes. One is the training mode, and the second is examination mode. The training mode is when you have different arrows, different text boxes, which helps you to understand what to do next, etc. In the exam mode, there is no signs, no any.
No, I think you don't understand. So you instead of focusing on training the people, you could also take advantage of the training to change the physical environment. So, because I have this product design background,
I think
if everybody does something wrong in the training, it might be that the physical situation should change to improve that in the real life. Because once they do the training, they might do it right in the training because they've done the training, and then in real life, because the situation is wrong, they might just do it wrong again because of the setup.
I think it's just the next step. So first we will need the tool which is recreates the real operations, and the next step it's your idea to think what we do more after that. Yeah.
It's not necessary to have more detailed world. Just to give you a different example, so I was talking to a company that was doing something between training and recruitment tool, and in working on heights and working on the construction site, you have different security equipment. So apparently there are like 5 or 10 different types of hard helmet, and so what the company did in virtual reality is the person put on the headset and had to choose the right hard hat for the right situation. What was happening in the background was that the reaction time has been measured. And so you could see by the longer consideration of people that they did not know what they are doing because they had to think too long on which hard hat they should choose. And so what you could see through this tool, through this particular scenario, is a subtle cue as to where the worker is going to have a problem in the future. And so in the context of training, let's say aviation, you could see where the person is considering what he should do too long, so that you can, for example, repeat just this part of the scenario, confirm that he can do it, or even be a little evil about it and see that the person just doesn't learn this particular part, so you could decide that you need to fire him because otherwise there's a risk of having a problem in the future. Like pick up very subtle things in the training process that you cannot pick up or even observe in the real life because you don't have these tools.
Now we have the analytics module in our software, which just analyzes is the working sequence is correct, is the worker has missed something. So your idea could be like an extension of this analytic module, just to help to understand the behavior of the workers. Yeah.
Exactly. So the basic idea is we have this technology that allows us to do more, to see more, basically.
Yeah.
And so instead of recreating the real life, we could focus on what the virtual reality actually can do for us. And so on the one hand, you can collect more data. On the other hand, you can save some time by providing less details if you don't need all the details.
About the details, that's very good question, because there is actually two opinions in the professionals area. One think that the details and realism, it's really not important in virtual reality training, that you could actually make very simple textures, very simple environment, and like that. And me, it's on the other side. So I think that it's the most important question in virtual reality, and you should push the realism as far as you can. I can tell you why. Because because the paradigm of virtual reality is when you disconnect people from real world and place them to the virtual world. And our brain is designed that way that we need details. When you put the people in a simple, very primitive environment, our brain start to striving for details. It will never believe that it's really your working place, and it will work absolutely different. So you will never be immersed, you will never be so emotionally connected to that process as if everything is real around you. So if you want to erase the border between virtual training and usual practice learning, that you should just push the realism as far as you can. That's my opinion. But the time is proving that it really works.
The time is up, actually. So that's the other thing.
Oh yeah.
And I think we're in the perfect mood for the actual controversial fireside chat, the panel. So first off, thank you, Gary.
Thank you very much.